Hi, I'm Abby Hart, Senior Editor of Landscape Management Magazine, and today I am joined by Claire Goldman, Principal and Head of Design and Business Development for R&R Landscaping in Waverly, Alabama. R&R Landscaping does 80% construction, 10% maintenance, and 10% irrigation for a completely residential customer base. Claire, thanks for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
We heard about R&R Landscaping story from a webinar that the Grow Group held, hosted by Marty Grunder, and Jim Cali from the Grow Group had actually mentioned in this webinar how R&R Landscaping is doing some very interesting things in Alabama. But before we get to that, could you tell me a little bit about how R&R Landscaping has fared since the beginning of the coronavirus response?
Sure. Yeah, we felt the same stress, I think, that everybody did right there at the beginning. And I feel like 3 weeks of my life just kind of disappeared because just constant research of all the new information that was coming out and understanding that we were going to be able to continue operating. So then shifting our focus to how do we operate safely and what do we do to make sure our clients feel safe doing business with us and our employees feel safe coming in. So we've had a good bit of success just shifting gears. Spring and landscaping is definitely that busy season. And so, you have your sights on what are you going to do for spring? And then all of a sudden that just blows up in your face. So we shifted gears to kind of looking 1 week out. As we did that, I think being completely residential, we've really not seen a whole lot of change from our client base, but we have seen some change on the employee side of things. So dealing with turnover in the spring is always a little bit of a headache, but we've had some employees that, have to be home for childcare now, and or maybe they have a family member that they don't want to risk, so they're not coming in. So we've had to hire. We've got quite a few new people on staff, all of them from the restaurant industry, or some students here at Auburn. Now that they've gone online, they have a little bit more time. So it's really been fun to, get some new people on our staff. They've been fantastic. They've exceeded my expectations. And so we're just rocking and rolling with a few adjustments, but basically business as usual.
That's great. How many new employees have you hired since all of this started?
We've hired 6 people in the last 3 weeks.
Wow. How does that compare to your typical spring hiring season?
Well, I usually try to hire for spring in late January, early February, so that they're trained and ready.
Right.
So this is not the time that I really want to bring in a whole lot of new people, just because, we're in Alabama, so spring for us can hit as early as February 1, but they've really adjusted well. We have roughly the same number of people that we would typically have. We've just had to do some scrambling in who they are and making sure they're all trained.
How else has R&R changes operations as far as job sites and things like that go?
We're very fortunate to be able to work outside. So as far as job sites go, we are just making sure that our employees understand that, we need to keep our distance and be responsible in the way that we're moving forward. Our clients know that we're still taking our on-site consultations, but we're not coming in the house. Sometimes they want us to come, view the project from the inside. So we're staying outside. We have added a app on our website where people can actually upload a video of their project. And so we've had some take advantage of that, where we get a video submitted to us of what the client is looking for, and then we can go walk the property and we don't even have to, come into contact with each other. And then, of course, all of the usual things that I think everyone's doing at the office. No one's allowed inside. We're keeping the people per truck very limited, wiping trucks down, just doing everything that we possibly can to be responsible in the way that we move forward, but understanding that, we're going to keep working and just do the best we can with it.
That's really all anybody can do. So
Yeah.
that's really great that safety is top of mind over there at R&R. So as I mentioned before, we had heard that you were doing some great things over at R&R, and that you've been showing some love to frontline healthcare workers. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We have I have a friend and her husband works at the hospital, and she just sent me a text a few weeks ago and asked to see if we had any of the plastic face masks that you see welders use a good bit. And we didn't have any, but I texted my welder friend and just asked him, did he have any? And he didn't have any he wasn't using. So he sent me the name of the local source here. So I just went and bought all the ones that they had there and dropped them off with my friend. And the response that she sent me, just of how overwhelmed and grateful the nurses that received those were, honestly kind of broke my heart. And I think we're all good at when there's tragedy going out and doing something, but when we're told to just sit at home and not be, that's our active role in helping, that's much more difficult. So I was just trying to think of how we can help. My friend's husband's concern was mostly with the nurses because of their high demand on their workload and their long hours. And so I just emailed the hospital chaplain and asked if she felt like maintaining the yards of some of the nurses would help. I don't want to cause more headache for her, but she reached out to the ER nurses and the ICU nurses and sent me a list of properties to maintain, which is, of course, an easy way that we can help. But I thought the coolest part of that was I know that, we have to make sure that our paying contracted clients are on schedule. And so we can't add too much to our workload. So I reached out to some of the other landscape company owners in my area, and we all have a great relationship with each other. And spring in landscaping is definitely not a time that we typically ask others to, do free work because we're all so slammed, but none of them hesitated. I just, I knew I had to be prepared to share the load just depending on how much demand came from the hospital. And every single one of them said, absolutely, just send us the list and we'll see whose routes are closest and, add them on that way so that we can try to be as efficient as possible, but still, take care of some people that might need it.
That's great. Who are some of the other landscape companies that have partnered with you on this project?
So the two that I've talked to the most about it have been Southern Pride here in Opelika and Cutting Edge. We've talked a good bit through this entire process of just how we're all going to be handling this. And so we stayed in communication really almost weekly throughout a lot of this and working together to make sure, we all make it through to the other side. And the two of them just jumped right on board and said, of course, anything that's needed, we're here to help. So I just think it's awesome. Our industry is just full of great people, and serving our community is definitely at the top of everyone's list. We have a group of landscape company owners here in Auburn that they actually went to school with my husband. And so we all kind of came on the scene about the same time. And so we've got a great friendly competition and like to kind of just keep a pulse on each other and make sure everybody's doing well.
That's great. Staying on the topic of making sure that everyone's doing well, how are you approaching leading your team during this time? And what advice do you have for other companies as they lead their teams through this crisis?
Gosh, I think the hardest part about leadership right now is just there's so many unknowns. It's very easy to lead when you have a clear direction, clear path. And right now, the only thing that we know for sure is that we need to focus on safety, and that needs to come first. We've just been trying to stay positive in everything that we're doing. I have an incredible leadership team at R&R Landscaping, and they have just, from day one, they just put their heads down and focused on the daily operations. And that gave me the freedom to really connect with other business owners like I've talked about and do my research, make sure I'm understanding what government programs are out there and what is required of us. And so just having that support has been huge. And then just leading in a way that shows confidence and positivity, but also allows our employees to feel, whatever they need to feel. We've had a few that have been afraid to come in. And so we're not going to tell them they have to. We're not going to, tell them they shouldn't feel that way. I completely understand that. And, they'll have jobs when they're ready to come back. So just trying to be understanding and compassionate in the way that we're moving forward, but also trying to not be distracted by all of the information and taking it as it comes and being willing and ready to adjust as we move forward.
it sounds like you guys are leading with as much confidence as you possibly can, and I'm sure you're doing a great job for your teams down there. Thank you so much for making the time to chat with me today, Claire. This has been Claire Goldman at R&R Landscaping in Alabama, and thanks again, Claire, for making the time.
Thanks, Abby.